How's it going, everybody? Wherever you listen to this podcast right here, this is episode 133 of the TempahZone podcast with your host, me, Amir Max. That's all facts. And ladies and gentlemen, my special guest in the Zoom building is a very, very talented artist. I saw her at a show at the Jungle in Somerville back in December and was just very surprised and impressed, obviously, with her performance. It was definitely something that I was not used to seeing just, in the local scene circuit. So it was definitely just dope to see her do her thing. I got Junr.Spacie in the Zoom building. What's going on?
Bang, bang. Hey, what's going on?
Can't complain, not much. How are you doing on a day like this?
Well, it's freezing outside. So I decided to just chill inside, make some more music as per usual. Actually, you're catching me in my painting hoodie. I was just doing I was working on a project that I put aside like months ago, and I was like, you know what, let me get right back to it.
Oh, wow. So you began in the painting?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I would assume is that something you picked up recently? Has that been something you've been doing for a long time?
I picked it up in 2019.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow. Okay. That's dope.
Yeah.
What made you decide to find other endeavors for art other than music? What made you decide to go into painting?
Well, I've always been someone who rather gravitated towards creative things like painting, music, dance, just ways of self-expression. So I just always thought that, hey, if I could do music, I could probably do other things that I could express myself with. So yeah, and that's how I pretty much got started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. I think I feel like every musician always thinks to themselves, what other ways can I express myself other than music at some point in their life,
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool. If I could draw, I would definitely do something. But I've seen some art sell for that. I'm like, I could do that, but people always say that all the
What you
time.
be doing is stick figures, right?
Yeah, my drawing's terrible. I'm like, that's like, I never say never. Maybe someday I get good at it, but I've always been a bad drawer. My handwriting's terrible. Like it's all bad.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch, right?
Yeah, my handwriting is like cursive and like regular writing. It's really weird. I got really weird writing. Yeah.
Eighth wonder of the world, I bet.
Yeah, like doctors' handwriting. They say doctors have bad handwriting. Yeah, I have that. Yeah, it's just one of those things. But maybe one day I'll work on it. But we type all the time now, so who really needs to write, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Technology is amazing. So.
Yeah, take that to your advantage. Absolutely. I definitely want to just ask you about what got you into just starting music. Was this something that was been going on for a long time? Was it something you picked up recently? I guess just break down for the people who aren't familiar with you, just what got you into putting out music and all that stuff. What got you to this point that you're at now with the music?
Oof. Without kind of giving you guys the whole.
Yeah, you don't have to tell everything.
Yeah, but long story short, I found out that I could sing from my grandmother, God rest her soul, when I was 7 years old. It's been this fight to always do music ever since that I found out that I could sing and it sounded good to people and it made them happy. So I just started doing it. And then, break down when I was in choir in high school and middle school and things like that. And of course, I'm a church girl. So it started off in the church, of course. And I've been doing it professionally for about like 15 years now. 15 going on 16 years. And wow. Dirty Laundry was like my very first drop. Like my very first drop. I say it with quotations because I was going through like the roughest time when I was living in Colorado last year. And I said to myself, I was like, it's now or never. I talk about doing music all this time and I wasn't really doing anything with it. So I figured to myself, like, okay, I don't have the resources. I have this phone. So I bought just like a mic and a mic stand and like a little interface thing. And then I plugged it into my phone And I literally recorded Dirty Laundry on my phone.
Wow. Okay. That's, it's funny because I'm listening to it. I'm like, man, something about this project just sounds so like raw, but I love it. I couldn't put it together.
Yeah.
I was like, because, I was
Yeah.
listening to these headphones the other day, and I was like, something about this. Like, I love the vibe about it, but I can't put my finger on what's going on. And then you record it through your phone, but I think sometimes the essence and like the energy like of that recording when you did it bleeds through, because when I was listening to it, I had no problems listening. I was like, this is dope. Like I like this, it sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the whole essence I wanted with Dirty Laundry, was for it to be as raw as possible, because I'm like, okay, I'm in the most vulnerable place in life, so I might as well just throw this out there and let people know what it is. That's why I had it named Dirty Laundry, because it's like me airing myself out in essence, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally understand. And, just like with the title and, what you're singing about on this project, is, I always ask artists this question, like about these type of things, because I always just so fascinated when an artist can be vulnerable and just expose himself in the music like that. But was there ever like any like doubt in yourself to put something out like this? Did you hesitate? What was it like to put this type of music out?
It was I would say it was a bit of a push and pull, because S.O.S was not S.O.S, the Sour Patch, I should say. Sour Patch was the very first drop or kind of introduction to the EP. And I was going back and forth with it to making sure like everything was cohesive and there were different parts. You could relate to the story, you could relate to what I was saying. And in if I think about it, I kind of had Dirty Laundry in the works for about like 3 years. I started it when I was living here in Boston, because I'm originally from here. And then I moved to New Orleans for a few years. And I was kind of working on it over there. And then I moved to Colorado, and then I finished it there. And then I dropped it while I was over there. So it was like a now or never kind of thing. It's either I do it or it's just never going to happen at that point.
Yeah, no, I understand. And you just gotta go with your gut when releasing certain stuff. It's just like, well, whoever the sticks with, it'll stick with. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
you gotta roll with that type of stuff. So I totally hear you there. And I guess going into something like your latest release, S.O.S. Between Dirty Laundry and S.O.S, how much would you say you learned about like your production and how you wanted things to sound going from those two releases?
Ooh. From Dirty Laundry to S.O.S, I definitely know that quality matters. Quality matters. It really does. It translates all of your ideas. Like, it just really puts it all out there. I mean, Dirty Laundry was more so like, okay, well, I can do this. Let me just do it. And S.O.S was just like, okay, now that I have your attention, at least somewhat have your attention, like, let me just show you a little bit more of what I'm trying to say, but in a clearer format. So I would say production quality matters when it comes to really having people understand what you're trying to say, especially in your music.
Yeah, absolutely. Having like just a good engineer who can go, oh, like there should be more distortion on your vocals right here to emphasize this point, or reverb there, all those type of stuff. It definitely goes a long way. And you can't do it on your own when you're making music. Like, you got to have these people to put their 2 cents in on what. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if I put out stuff without having certain people's advice, it wouldn't have came out the way it did. So I'm glad that I had people chime in and tell me what they needed to. You know what I mean?
I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of S.O.S, though, just talk about the motivation behind putting out that song. It's definitely a bop. It's a really dope song, and just going through your catalog, I can see that evolution and that next level step into your music. So just talk about S.O.S.
Oh, S.O.S was more like an anthem kind of style to just the average Joe, just waking up in the morning and just trying to get by. Even the chorus of being tuckered out, but you just got to keep going. Like you're exhausted. Everybody's tired. Everybody has something that they're going through. Everybody has something that they're fighting for. Even if you don't think that you're fighting for something, you're fighting for something regardless. You might not know it yet, but you are. And SOS is the song that I wanted people to listen to say, keep it going, keep in the fight. You know, life is a bit annoying, and you know, sometimes we don't want to go to work, but at the end of the day we have to.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a feel good anthem of just encouragement.
Yeah.
I kind of prided myself on wanting to be like, you know, the voice of the misfits, of the people who don't fit in anywhere, because like nowadays we're listening to music that's just, you know, like it's all run of the mill. I really feel like, you know, you're listening to like no shade to anybody, but like, yeah, Cardi B's cool, like the Main Street people, and everybody's trying to formulate like some sort of plan to mold themselves into that category of like, this is what I need to do to be able to make it to the top. And it's like, to be very honest, I don't care about that type of stuff. And SOS, I wanted it to be just like that. Like, I don't care. Like, you could have, you know, dripping gold and whatever. Like, I like to longboard. I sometimes eat pavement if I hit a pebble when I'm going downhill. You know, I like, you know, beef patties and cocoa bread. Like, I take the bus. You know, I wanted it to be something where you're just a regular person, and that's okay. Because how many people are making music that are just talking about being regular people?
Not too many.
Yeah.
Not too many people. Oh yeah, it was funny to your point. Like I listen to so much rap. Just been making music for so long where you hear certain people rap and say things. You're like, holy shit! Like, how many more people can say taking your girl and wearing this chain and spending this money and never going back? How many times can we say this? Can you be more specific on your life? Like,
right.
Or just be more honest about something else, you know? Yeah. So trust me, yeah. All the tropes, you know, I've heard them. I feel like I've heard them all. Yeah. I feel like I've heard them
After a while,
all.
it just becomes repetitive. It's just like, you know, I'm starting to feel like everybody is losing sight on just basic humanness, like just being a regular person. Like, who's talking about the regular ones, the ones who take the bus?
Yeah.
Who's talking about the ones who work 9 to 5? Who's talking about the ones who, you know, have bad days? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want to be a voice for that and of that.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people just see what works for others, and like you were saying. So I think a lot of times people are like, man, like, how do I make it sound cool to live this type of life? How do you put it into a song and that's catchy without being corny or preachy? I think that's a lot of times people's problem, but that's where the art comes from. Find a way to make that song without being corny, and if you can do that, you tapped into another thing. You know, I think it's just one of those stuff. But I think people said about rap, like there was a time in hip hop where it was just like you had to sound like your own sound, and now it's like you gotta try to, you know, it's probably you're better off trying to sound like someone else to try to be your own sound in certain cases.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is like everybody wants to. Not everybody. I shouldn't lump it into a general thing, but it's falling into the direction of like a lot of people want to sound similar because it's trending. It's the thought of like, if I can sound as if like I'm trending, then maybe then they'll listen to what I have to say, when I feel like that has the opposite effect. Why follow the very mold that most people follow? Like, of course, we can get into the poetics of just like the road less traveled and things like that. But if you, right, are just this one person, there's 8 billion people on the face of the planet, just this one person. No one has your face, no one has your DNA. Why on earth do you want to follow a whole group of people doing the same thing when it's your truth, it's your honesty, it's your words, it's your creation, you know? follow what you got to follow. And I feel as if a lot of artists, they lose sight of that. They start with that, but then they lose sight of it the minute that they see that certain things are popular. You know, you kind of have to grow beyond it as an artist, especially.
Yeah, and it might take you days, months, years to figure out how to do it. But I think in the end, it's always worth it to find ways to be yourself and just have it bleed through. But it's so easier said than done. Like it's a lot of times easier just to mimic somebody than just come up with your own words of, you know, everything. But like you said, everybody has their own story. Everybody's their own person. So just figure that out. Yeah, and take your time with it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. But yeah, definitely you know, great points you got there, and I think you adopt that with your music for sure. And I think one of the things that I stood out with me when I saw you perform back in December was you had a ukulele, you know, and you know, you see the guitar right there. You know, I see a lot of guitar players, bass players, drummers go on stage, you know, keyboardists. But the ukulele is not a common one. Of all the string instruments, why the ukulele?
Well,
don't get me wrong, I love the ukulele. I think it's a great sounding instrument. No one ever let me not get it misconstrued here, but I'm just curious, you know, what made you decide to choose that and roll with it?
Okay, funny thing is guitars a little bit too daunting. Not to say I wouldn't want to tackle the challenge. I love a good challenge, but it's the size of it is just far too overwhelming.
I understand.
And I wanted, so I'm a street performer actually by trade. Like I perform all around Boston, downtown, everywhere. And back when I started doing it in New Orleans, I thought, you know, it was more like a business decision in a weird way, where it was like, okay, I can sing and perform all these karaoke songs and play songs off of my phone, but what if I could actually learn to play them on my own? What's the closest thing to guitar that I could learn? At first, it was going to be the mandolin, which is really, it was just kind of funny. Like, I was like, okay, who's about to learn how to play the mandolin?
Yeah.
Not me. Randomly, it just came to mind one day when I had moved to Colorado to buy a ukulele. And so I got paid, bought it, and then I started learning it. And surprisingly, it was pretty easy. And then I put it away for like 6 or 7 months for some reason. Like I just didn't touch it. Right. And so I know. And then I think come July of last year, I picked it up again and I started taking it seriously and really like plucking away. And then I started writing songs, and those 2 songs that I wrote, that second song that I had sung with my ukulele, I had written it that day.
Wow, that's bold. Yeah. That's bold. I would have known that.
Yeah, I had written it that day, but it's been a pretty it's an instrument that I realized that not a lot of people come across, and I wanted to kind of, you know, capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you made a good choice going with the ukulele and not a mandolin.
Yeah.
No offense to mandolin players.
Extra different.
Yeah, no offense to the mandolin players, but I've heard more hits with the ukulele than I have a mandolin. So I feel like you're in better hands with the ukulele. And the mandolin's different. I feel like it's the way
strings.
It's 8 strings, yeah, and the way it's set up, it's not normal as like a ukulele or like even like well, obviously like a bass and stuff like that. So it's a lot more it's a lot more up that alley with the 4 strings, right? 4 strings on a ukulele?
Yeah, just 4.
Okay, yeah. See, that's how
I've
only played one time.
The strings on the ukulele, people would always be like, well, it should be easy to jump from a ukulele to a guitar. And I'm like, not really, because the string placements are different. Like the notes are different. The strings on a guitar are metal. The ones on a ukulele are nylon. So it's kind of just like, you know, I took the easy way out. Okay. With the ukulele, I took the easy way out. I'll admit that, but it's cool nonetheless. You know, you can still jam. It's portable.
Mhm.
you know?
Hey, there's a lot of advantages to the ukulele, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think just learning an instrument, sorry listeners for repeating this one, but learning an instrument as an artist is just so freaking important. And like
Oh,
any instrument, like it don't matter which
incredibly.
one. Yeah, yeah. So like, if anyone tries to knock you for playing a ukulele, just tell them, hey, like, what do you play?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you ever want to like throw a rebuttal at them, just say, "What do you play for an instrument?" All
Turn
right.
the tables really quick. I'd be
Yeah,
like, okay, so, what do you play, like spoons or something? Like,
it's yeah, yeah, straight up. And someone who plays a guitar, I've definitely noticed that like bass is another one people make fun of too. People think bass is super easy because you don't have to play chords as much or like a lot of single note stuff, but
right.
there is a lot of technique that goes into bass, and probably what you learn with
I
playing
mean,
ukulele. There's probably so much intricacies in playing the ukulele that
yeah.
is more than meets the eye.
Anybody who makes fun of bassists, I stop them. I'm like, have you ever heard of Thundercat?
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, come on.
and he plays a 5-string bass, and it's like he's
I
doing shit. Yeah,
mean,
he's doing shit on there. Like you try to play that, and like
like
yeah,
a
your hands
bass
are
is
gonna hurt.
a bass, but I mean, like the man can freaking rip. Like it's just interesting, and a lot of people don't understand the intricacies that it takes to be a musician, and it took me many years to finally come to the place of feeling like a musician. And that's another reason why I picked up the ukulele, because I didn't want to just say, oh, I'm a singer songwriter. I wanted to say I'm a musician. Like I actually can play something. I'm actually planning on trying to learn the harmonica as well. So that can also
Oh,
be fun for my street performing.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I think we have I'd say this playing the guitar and I have a keyboard, but we have enough people who play around with those things. Like you even telling me about this. Like I'm always thinking like, man, like I'd love to own an upright bass. I'd love to
you
own a
know,
guitar. I'd love to own a
yeah.
sitar. I'm that type of person where I'm like, how many more instruments can I own or play or try out that like people aren't tapping into? Because why not? Why not try to play more stuff, So
Yo, do you remember Keytar Bear, who would just be around Boston?
I do remember. I've seen him around. He used
Freaking
to work in
Keytar
Faneuil
Bear.
Hall. Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Like,
that's
what happened to him? He just disappeared. Like, it's kind of like, where in the world is Carmen San Diego? But like, where in Boston is Keytar Bear?
yeah.
I
Guitar man. That dude or girl, I don't know if it was a guy or girl, but whoever that
think
person
it was a
was.
guy.
Yeah, it was a guy. Yeah, man. He definitely got his name out there. That's for sure.
You know?
That was impressive. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just to and even if you're not a musician, like just learning an instrument is just it's just
It's
good for
great
your
for the
brain.
brain.
It's like learning a
Yeah.
language. It's the same. It's up that same alley. And so I think hopefully with people listening to this, if they don't if they want to feel like starting out and playing some stuff or try all that other stuff out. There's more than just guitar, bass, and drums. Like there's a whole slew of instruments you can try out.
I
And
mean,
yeah.
be different. Like, learn the sitar.
Yep.
Or
Learn it.
learn a didgeridoo and learn something like, like who's to say that there wouldn't be a massive motion picture? And I'm looking at you, future musician out there. Go ahead and take a trip to Southern Australia and learn the didgeridoo, okay?
Yeah.
And there could be some universal motion picture that could use you.
Yeah, straight up, man. You might just find a living in it. Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
There's a whole slew of instruments. One more thing I just want to point out without this, like I went to the Museum of Fine Arts and I went to
Uh-huh.
this and they had like old instruments there, like from like the
Mm.
1500s, and that's where like I had the idea of like, man, imagine if I learned how to play the sitar, and I looked it up and I realized I'm never gonna learn how to play that shit. That is like
Nah, dude.
it's like one of the
Nah.
hardest instruments you could try. I'm like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
we could try something else.
It's
Yeah,
like 100 different strings. Like you have to sit it on something and then you have
yeah,
to play it at different sequences. Like people who could play it, I'm like, first off, you just have to admit that there's certain musical instruments that just are just going to be dying arts. Like there's eventually going to be no one who knows how to ever play them. Like hopefully people want to pick it up eventually, but we'll stick to the basics. I'll stick to my ukulele for now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can definitely rock with that and go many places with it. There ain't no doubt about that. I definitely want to ask you though, with all this stuff that you been doing and being in the game for a while, I feel like you obviously have some experience in doing this and seeing certain things. But what's some struggles that you've ran into being an artist that you'd want to share with the people that you had to overcome that were difficult going through?
Well, just overcoming a lot of self-doubt. That's a massive part of it in being an artist, because when you come to realize that you are your own worst critic, and that in itself is such an understatement, because throughout my own process, I've noticed that I struggled a lot with my self-worth in regards to my art, in regards to my music, especially when you hit a rock financially. I think anybody can relate to, when you're broke and you have things that you want to do and you can't do them, you kind of you're like, damn, is this it? Is this the end of the road? You question whether or not that's something that you want to accomplish. And, I've had several times in my career where I questioned whether or not music was a pathway for me anymore, whether or not it was something that I would succeed in anymore. Like there was a lot of self-doubt. I think that's the primary thing that artists, we need to overcome. And when we do overcome it and we start to really believe in ourselves, it changes the world for us. Because I got to a place where, back from what we were saying earlier about wanting to do music and pursue music for reasons that are trending, for reasons that, you want everyone to know your name. Like, I feel like everybody has this mindset, like, I want you to know who I am, almost like this sense of hubris. And I'm like, okay, cool. So when they get to know your name, partner, like young player in the game, so when they get to know your name, what then? What then?
They usually don't think about that next step. Yeah.
They don't think about that next step. And so even just if you humble yourself now in the moment, not saying that don't believe in what you want, don't believe in your product, don't believe in yourself as a product and as a person and as an artist, but get over, and I sound really fucked up, get over yourself in a sense. Get over yourself, because guess what? You are taking a pretty big sacrifice when it comes to creating your art. And that was something I had to overcome. What if people don't like me? What if people don't like what I put out? What if this sounds bad? What if it doesn't sound like this person? And I got to a point, I was like, fuck that. I don't care. Who cares? I made it. Mm-hmm. And I encourage all artists to be that person. You made it. You made what you made, And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to give everybody credence. Sometimes we make shitty music. Sometimes we really make bad stuff. And if it's a part of the process, if you're not having fun, then what are you doing? You're not actually enjoying being an artist. The art is fun. Yeah. You ever just someone give you, back in school, they're, in grade school, and they're like, this is a project, and they give you macaroni, they give you glitter, and they give you glue and construction paper. They're not asking you to make the Vitruvian Man. They're asking you to take some glue and some macaroni and some glitter and stick it on a page, and that is your project, and you made it the best you can. Mm-hmm. Treat all art like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, still have care.
Yeah, but yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean, and I think you gotta get over yourself. You know what I mean? You gotta it's just self-doubt is just you see people do it all the time. People just hold on to all this music they got because they feel like it's never gonna be good enough to put out any of it, and they hold on to 80 songs and only drop 2 of them, and it's why?
Why?
Damn, you have all that stuff, you're just not gonna put it out. ever? Like, what's
What is the point? Like, what?
yeah.
Who are you at that point? Then at that point, for those people who do that, I straight up say, then you're making art for yourself. You're just making art for yourself. Don't say that you actually want to be an artist. You're making art for yourself, because the purpose of art, it is cathartic. It's very therapeutic for the soul, for the self.
For
Like,
sure.
but then at that point, hold it to yourself. Don't ever mention it. Don't say that you're an artist. Don't be like, I'm a musician.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Because then that's going to require proof, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? It's like me saying that I am a world-class Michelin baker.
Yeah.
Okay. okay, player. Like, let
Yeah.
me, where's the street cred? you
Yeah,
know?
you gotta earn
And
that.
you gotta earn that. And it's kind of just like, if you are a person who wants to create art for the sake of people hearing it and experiencing it, then you need to put it out. You can't just hold it to yourself. Why be a miser? Why be you're not doing anybody any favors. Who's to say that you didn't create the next, symphony number 5? Like, who's
Yeah.
to say?
Yeah, you
You're
never
just
know.
holding it.
Yeah, you never know what you got until you put it out and then see what it does. And obviously, if you market it correctly and all that stuff. But sometimes, even if the song might be so good, you get one person to reshare it, and then bam, you go viral off of a song. Like it's, and that's why when you have all that music, you gotta just see what works, see what sticks to the wall, and especially if you're trying to make it big or make it a living. But just
Right.
on some like motive, but just on some like put out the music to see who it touches, who it, your music might change lives.
The way I
Seriously.
look at it, there is so many people on the face of the planet. And I feel as if the people who want this worldwide glory and fame are trying to still hit the same market
Yeah.
that everybody's trying to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? If 10,000 people listen to S.O.S tomorrow, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's great.
It doesn't have to be a million. 10,000. That could just be within the city. You want this 10,000 people put that on their playlist. They absolutely loved it. They thought it was great, that it's their motivation for actually going to get their Starbies in the morning. Like, that's wonderful to me.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot of people lose sight of, just like even the 500, even the 1,000, the 10,000. They lose sight of that because they want the 1 million, the 500 million, the 6 million.
Yeah,
like, why? After a while, when you have all of those people who listen to you, are you really touching their souls with what you're writing?
Yeah.
Are you making timeless music? I'm all about the timeless, baby. I ain't trying to do the run of the mill type of stuff.
Yeah,
So
what's trending right now type stuff. Yeah, it's about yeah. You want to make music you
trends
look back.
die.
Yeah, trends die, exactly. Yep. And if you make timeless music, bam, you make timeless music. That shit gonna slap today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You can go back from it and be like, oh shit, this is still good music. And I think that's the best thing that you can do. It's sometimes I go back to listen to music in 2011 that came out and like, man, this sounds like 2011. And it did not age. It's like, the only way you can like it is if you take yourself back in that time and go, okay, like that, like even some, like you can even look at certain songs or certain genres and go like, wow, this sounds like the times. Like it's okay now, but like I bet back then, oh my God, but you want that,
like you can't listen to the party rock anthem in 2023 and be like, yo, this shit still slaps, bro. Like you can't do that, because you can't you remember those old school Kanye glasses with the stripes in them? You can't wear that shit today and then be like, oh man, this is the new style, like Gucci bringing these back. Like, we're going to be like, partner, sit back in the back of the bus. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you can't do dated stuff, and then not everything ages well. There's certain things that age like fine wine, and things that age like sour milk. And sometimes you just gotta
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you, and I think that's just one of the fascinating things about just any type of creation, whether it be clothing or music. Some things just stand the test of time, some things don't, and that's just the nature of it. And if you can predict it, you'd be a very wealthy, well-known person. But it's hard to say what's gonna work and what's gonna 10 years from now. Like if
Oh,
you could predict that, you'd be on one. But yeah, I
I'm
definitely,
telling you.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something there. I definitely want to ask you next. So, what's up next for Junr.Spacie? What can you share for the people that's coming soon?
Well, for now, I'm actually planning on dropping another single. I have quite a few things recorded that
Oh,
I'm working on. So stay tuned. I want to say within the next month, most likely sometime in February. I can't ruin the surprise of when,
yeah.
but I will be dropping another single and it will be definitely different from SOS. All I can definitely tell you is that everything that is going to be dropping as time progresses is not going to be the same as the last one.
Ooh, that's
I
good.
tend to not follow a particular format when it comes to genre of music. You'll get something, you might get R&B, and then I might switch it up to something pop, and then indie rock. You never know. It's always going to be something different pretty much every time. So
Oh,
stay
okay.
tuned.
Yeah, that's a good way to hook them in. I think if every release being something different is something. It's like just like a new episode of a show. It's like, all right, what are we gonna expect next?
Yeah,
I think having something different every time is just a good way to reel them in. And I think I'll be tuning in. Make sure you send me the music when it drops. I'll definitely I
of
got you on
course.
that. I got you with
Of
that.
course.
Absolutely. Junr.Spacie, thank you very much for being on TempahZone podcast. Before
Thank
we wrap
you.
this up, though, I gotta ask you the question I ask every guest I have on, because I think everybody who comes on this platform has a lot to bring to the table, and you have mentioned a lot of great advice, a lot of great great jewels for great gems for the people. What is some advice that you'd give to any artist starting out? What's some tips or pointers that you wish that someone shared with you that you'd share with someone else?
Mm,
You said a lot of good
let me
things, but yeah,
see.
you can always repeat what you said, or whatever you're feeling.
Well, honestly, I'd give them the advice that I wish I would have given my 22-year-old self that was in a lot of self-doubt with whether or not that music was something I wanted to do. And one thing I would definitely say is just just get up and do it. Get
Mm-hmm.
up and do it. No one's going to stop you. No one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
No one's coming to save you, and understand that this is a game that can be fun but can also make or break you. So you have two options: do or die.
Mm.
So just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, just straight up. No, I love it. Straight to the point, and then those words travel. That it's deep stuff right there. So I definitely appreciate that right there. Once again, thank you being on the show. What's some other things you
Thank you
want to
so
plug for the
much.
people before we wrap it up here? Where can they
What's
follow
some more? What?
you? What's some stuff you want to plug for the people? Where can they follow you? Where
Uh,
yeah.
oh, you can follow me on my TikTok. I do skits and things. Well, I do skits on both my TikTok and my Instagram, but follow me on both of them at Junr, Junr.Spacie. So that's Junr.Spacie. And then my music is out on all major platforms: Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, whatever, at Junr.Spacie.
There
And
y'all
stay
have it.
tuned for all of my other stuff that's coming out.
Absolutely. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is another episode of the TempahZone podcast. Make sure you tune in next week for another episode. All right, y'all. Peace out.
Peace.